They laughed when my son fell through the ice, until one phone call wiped the smile off their faces. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend. My son, Ethan, had planned to visit his wife Clara's family in Vermont for a short winter getaway. He'd been married for just over a year, and though I tried my best to be civil, I never truly trusted Clara's parents. They were the kind of people who smiled through their teeth, polite in words but cold in spirit. That morning, Ethan called me on his way there. I could hear Clara laughing in the background. "Mom," he said, "Clara's dad says the lake behind their lodge freezes solid every year. We might try walking on it." I remember teasing him. "You? On ice? You'll come back with a broken leg, Ethan." He laughed. "Don't worry, Mom. They're good people. Just a little rough in their humor." Rough. That was one way to describe them. They liked their jokes sharp and their laughter louder than their empathy. Later that evening, as snow fell softly outside my window, I got a video message from an unknown number. I clicked it, and the moment it began playing, my heart nearly stopped. It was Ethan. On the frozen lake. Clara's father and brothers stood nearby laughing. Then suddenly someone gave Ethan a push. The camera shook as he crashed through the thin ice into the black water. People screamed, but the laughter didn't stop immediately. Someone shouted, "It's just a joke," before the video cut off. I must have replayed it 5 times before I realized I was shaking. My own son, struggling in icy water while people called it a joke. I called Ethan's phone over and over again. No answer. Then I called Clara. She picked up on the 4th try, her voice trembling. "He's in the hospital, Martha," she said. "He's alive barely. They said the cold almost stopped his heart." I dropped to my knees right there in my kitchen. The cocoa I had made for his return sat untouched on the counter. That moment, something in me hardened. I'd always been gentle, the kind of mother who believed in forgiveness. But as I stared out the window into the snow, I realized forgiveness had its limits. That night I made a single phone call, one that changed everything. The next morning, I drove 5 hours through the storm to reach the Hendersons' lodge. The roads were slick and nearly empty. I didn't even remember most of the drive. My hands just gripped the steering wheel, my mind fixed on one thought. They nearly killed my son. When I arrived, I saw their grand wooden lodge sitting proudly by the lake. The same lake where Ethan almost died. Police tape flapped near the edge of the frozen water, and I could still see the hole in the ice. Dark, jagged, and cruelly silent. Inside the house, everything looked normal. Clara's mother was making coffee, her brothers chatting softly by the fire. But when they saw me, the air changed. "Martha, you didn't have to come all the way here," Clara's mother said, her voice trembling just slightly. I didn't respond. I just looked around the room, at the framed family photos, at the laughter frozen on their walls. Then I asked, "Where's my son?" Clara came down the stairs, her eyes red and swollen. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back. "How could you let this happen?" I asked her quietly. "They pushed him, Clara. They pushed him into that lake." Her father, Mr. Henderson, cleared his throat. "It was an accident, Martha. Boys were just having fun. Nobody expected the ice to crack." "Fun?" I repeated, my voice low. "You call that fun?" He shrugged. "You know how young men are." He laughed after, didn't he? "He's in a hospital bed, fighting for his life," I snapped. "And you're still making excuses." There was silence. The only sound was the fire crackling behind us. Clara's brothers exchanged uneasy glances. None of them could look me in the eye. I turned toward the window, staring out at the lake. That's when I pulled out my phone, the same one that had recorded their laughter. I had already sent the video to my lawyer friend the night before. And I knew exactly who to call next. Without another word, I stepped outside and dialed a number I never thought I'd use again. Chief Nolan, a retired detective and my late husband's best friend. He owed me a favor. "Martha," he said when he picked up. "Chief," I whispered. "I need you to watch a video. It's about Ethan. They tried to kill him. And they're calling it a joke." He didn't ask for details. Send it. I'll handle it. As I ended the call, a strange calm washed over me. The kind that comes when pain turns into purpose. I wasn't just a grieving mother anymore. I was a mother who was going to make sure justice had a face. And a name. Behind me, Clara came running out, crying. Mom, please, they didn't mean it. They're sorry. I looked at her for a long moment and said quietly, Clara, sorry doesn't unfreeze a lake. And it doesn't erase what kind of people laugh when someone's dying. Then I walked back to my car. My hands stopped trembling. I didn't even feel the cold anymore. That phone call had set something in motion. And soon, the Hendersons would understand that some jokes come with a price. 3 days later, the Hendersons' laughter turned into panic. It started with a phone call from the sheriff's office. Chief Nolan had wasted no time forwarding the evidence, that awful video, along with witness testimonies from the hospital staff. Within hours, the police arrived at the lodge with questions the Hendersons couldn't laugh off. By then, Ethan had regained consciousness. His skin was pale and his voice was weak, but when I walked into his hospital room, he still tried to smile. Mom, he whispered, his breath catching. They didn't mean it. That sentence broke me in a way I can't describe. I sat beside him, brushing his hair back like I did when he was little. Ethan, love doesn't mean letting people destroy you, I said softly. You nearly died, and they called it a joke. He turned his face away, eyes glistening. Clara's family. They always tease me. I just wanted to fit in. That's when I realized. This wasn't just about the lake. It was years of quiet humiliation. The dinners where they mocked his small-town roots. The friendly jokes about his salary. The subtle ways they made him feel lesser. And that day on the lake was their final proof that they believed they could do anything to him and walk away laughing. Later that week, the story broke online. Someone, maybe a neighbor, maybe a witness, had leaked the video. The headline read, Wealthy family under fire after son-in-law nearly drowns in icy lake prank. Spread like wildfire. Reporters camped outside the Hendersons' property. Their family business, a luxury resort chain, lost sponsors overnight. The public outrage was brutal. Meanwhile, Chief Nolan kept me updated. We've filed charges, he said. Reckless endangerment, criminal negligence. It won't bring back time, but it'll bring them to court. Clara came to see Ethan one night, trembling. Mom, they're blaming me now, she sobbed. Dad says you ruined our lives. I looked her in the eyes and said quietly, No, Clara. Your family ruined their own lives the moment they forgot that kindness has limits. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just cried. Ethan listened from his bed, silent. Then he reached for my hand and whispered, Mom, thank you for standing up when I couldn't. That night, I realized my one phone call hadn't just changed the Hendersons' lives. It had changed Ethan's too. He finally saw the difference between acceptance and abuse disguised as humor. And for the first time in months, I slept soundly. The next morning, the world was still covered in snow, but somehow the air felt lighter. Justice had begun its slow crawl across the ice, and I knew it would reach them eventually. Spring came slowly that year. The ice on the lake melted, the roads cleared, and life began to move forward. But not for everyone. The Hendersons faced the full weight of the law. Their arrogance, their laughter, their little jokes, all replayed in court for everyone to see. The video was undeniable. The judge's face remained cold and stern as the footage played on the screen. Clara's father bowed his head. Her brothers looked pale and small for the first time in their lives. When the verdict was read, guilty on all counts of reckless endangerment, a quiet gasp swept through the courtroom. They weren't sentenced to years behind bars, but the fines, the lawsuits, and the public disgrace stripped away their pride. Their family's reputation, the one thing they had built their world around, was gone. After the trial, I stepped outside into the warm afternoon air. Ethan was waiting for me, standing on a cane. His color finally returning. He gave me a faint smile. It's over, he said. But I shook my head. No, Ethan. It's just beginning. Now you decide what kind of life you want to live. One where you beg for love, or one where you stand tall enough to know you deserve it. He nodded slowly. I could see something in him change that day. A quiet strength that had been buried beneath years of trying to please everyone. Months later, Clara moved out of her parents' house and filed for separation. She told Ethan, "I can't unsee what they did. And I can't keep pretending they're good people." He forgave her, but this time forgiveness didn't mean going back. It meant letting go. As for me, I finally went back to my little cabin by the woods. One evening, while sipping tea by the fireplace, I watched the sunset over the thawed lake outside my window. The same color as Ethan's eyes when he was a child. Bright, calm, alive. I thought about that night I made the call. How simple it seemed, just a few seconds, a few words. Yet it set justice in motion and saved my son from a lifetime of quiet suffering. People say revenge is bitter. But this wasn't revenge. This was restoration. A mother reclaiming her peace and reminding the world that no one laughs at life and walks away unscarred. Now, whenever the snow begins to fall, I don't shiver anymore. Smile. Because I know that beneath every storm, there's a mother somewhere. Steady, waiting, ready to protect what's hers. Some people think silence keeps peace, but silence only feeds cruelty. If you believe every mother deserves justice, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay till the end, because the next story might remind you why love must never come at the cost of respect.